I've been out of jail going on 5 years, haven't used drugs for 9. I've done 27 years incarcerated in prison. That's not including boys' homes or state ward homes. I could never stay out of jail for more than 1 year. I lasted 11 months twice. And I said to the person here earlier today, I always said if I stay out of jail for 1 year, I'll stay out forever. And I got out in February 2020, and I stayed out 1 year and 2 years and 3 years, and in February I'll be out 5, so I'm really proud of that fact. And it did come to fruition. I've stayed out for my first year and I haven't gone back. I'm never going back. I used drugs in childhood. I had a traumatic childhood, bashings and molestation of father, priest and boys' homes. So yeah, it was a very horrible childhood, and I used drugs for all those years not knowing. The reason why I used drugs was because I was self-medicating to hide the pain, and that's because I've been doing it since 2016. I've been talking about it since I went to the Royal Commission. I was in the 3 people to go to the Royal Commission inside jail, so that was a big thing and opened the doors for a lot of other people. A lot of people slip through the cracks and don't get educated, and their parents think that education, go and get a job when you're 16 or 15, it's not the way. For some people, yes. For a lot of people, no. Especially the minority groups in Australia, you need that education to get somewhere in life. And I was a very smart kid at school. Like, I got accepted to Strait High School, which was one of the smartest schools in New South Wales when I was growing up, and my stepfather wouldn't let me go, which pissed me off. I was a state long-distance runner, made it to state. I was going to nationals, wouldn't let me go. I was a great rugby league player, halfback, stopped me from playing football. You know, I want to let kids know the opportunity in the world. I really want to help Indigenous youth to not go down the same path and show them there's different ways. My experiences, bringing sports people in and stuff like that, and show them that there is another way. You don't have to turn to drugs. You don't have to repeat the generations, and tell them about education is the key, because it's the key to all our youth. The worst part of jail for me was seeing so many Aboriginal men come through the prison system as a small percentage of population, yet a large population in jail. Along with that, bashings and stabbings, and I'm not just talking of inmates, I'm talking of prison officers. When I first come to jail in the mid-80s, early 80s, there was a lot of bashings of officers, and you had no one to turn to except for other inmates, and you just kicked along with it. You had to deal with it as part of it. It was really wrong. I said to a couple of counsellors in jail that, you know, it's not about rehabilitation is a dirty word. You can rehabilitate a sports injury or a brain injury or any other injury, but you can't take someone back to something they never were. Because I was getting put through windows from the age of 4 or 5 by my uncles and stuff to open shop doors for them. So it's about re-education. Here represents, now I'm grounded. I've planted my roots, I have a home. I've been there for 8 years, I love it. I'm free as a bird. I've become a Buddhist, I meditate, I do yoga. This picture represents family, friends, love to me, the person I am now. Things like we've done today is very therapeutic and educating, because, like I said, every time you do something like this, you get that little bit more weight drops off your shoulders. And the more you can do that, it's easier to speak about. I work selling the big issue 7 days a week, 7:30 to 1:30 in Roselle, outside Roselle Woolies. I'm a part of a community, and I always used to get told by parole officers in jail, screws, and you'll never get put him back in jail for not complying with Section 4A and 4B of the Parole Act, which is failed to conform to normal community life. And I thought, well, what's normal community life? I don't know. I can't go back to something I never had. Life's great for me. I'm a 10-time grandfather, 2-time great-grandfather, which sounds funny at 57, I know, but I had my daughter early and she had her children early, so it's good that we're all growing up together. I have people in my life that I care and love. I talk to them all the time, and it's really great connections with family again. And that's all due to getting clean and breaking the cycle of prisons and crime and drugs, especially drugs.
I was born during wartime, middle of war, and it was a pretty tough time, and I just think a lot of babies were adopted out at the time, but it was dysfunctional. My father was ex-boxer, he drank a lot, terrorised the neighbourhood, and was very hard on my mother. There were a lot of blues and screaming, and sometimes we were walking the streets, and at that stage I think I needed to establish that I was a pretty good kid. Never did any wrong, really. When my mother died, I just left home, packed it, and my father couldn't believe it. I was walking out that day, and I did, and I just knew nothing about life, really. People that come from underprivileged backgrounds, violent backgrounds, dysfunctional families, they're at a disadvantage. They're starting behind the 8 ball. Once they get on a treadmill, it's very hard to get off. Now, I don't necessarily say that my background is responsible for the way that I turned out later, but it did get me away to a bad start. I do know that I was a good kid, that didn't do anything wrong until I was 17, until my mother actually killed herself. When she killed herself, something inside me died. But I think I'm the same sort of guy now that I was then. I think for the last 15 years I've been a pretty decent sort of person. I hooked up with guys older than me, started doing shoplifting, stuff like that to survive, and I finished Long Bay. I was 17 in 1960. I was pretty lucky to get through, that nothing happened to me. Very lucky. From what I've heard, I knew other guys, kids that I knew that weren't so lucky, because boys were getting raped in those days. They were getting raped, and I was 17, and I had black hair, was young looking, and I was pretty lucky to get through, that nothing happened to me. I went to Goulburn. I escaped when I was turned 18 from Bathurst, and they chased me, couldn't get me, fired shots. I got caught later in the town that night, and so they put me into maximum securities all the time, and went to Goulburn. I finished up, I was wanted all over Australia, trying to get to America. I had a girlfriend over there, and the whole thing is that I escaped quite a few times and was up in the headlines, and so I became hated by the prison authorities, and was always thrown into maximum security and solitary and stuff like that. Spent 4 down to Melbourne, went down to Melbourne. I was there when the person was executed in Australia, Ronald Ryan, and I went to H Division. As soon as you get there, you get stripped off, bashed, flogged, go down, break rocks, come down, bash you again. You heard kids crying, trying to kill themselves, and it was just horrific. I was convicted last time for 2 bank robberies and an escape. The escape was in a helicopter, and they were really outraged about it. They gave me a very, very hard time, and tried everything they could. They tried to stop me getting parole. I had to go to the Supreme Court to get parole. When I did get out, I had about 9 years parole on me. I couldn't do anything. For a start, I had leg cuffs, and it's extremely hard. I had to say where I was going to be 9 days from now, exactly what time. And if you weren't there at that time, they'd ring you up and say, "Why aren't you so-and-so?" I'm not a great drawer. It's more writing, as you can see, but it just shows to me that what I've said there, experience in the justice system, and it's a 2-tier justice system. I give it 5 stars, top tier. Doctors, lawyers, executives, all these people do get second chances when they go to court. I'd seen people come in, bad pedophiles, stuff like that, getting 9 months. Bank robbers are getting 10 years. The people on the bottom tier, we know what happens to them. Arrest, no money, legal aid, lawyers, conviction, prison, cages, beatings, maybe stabbings, bashings, rapes, the whole works. because they're in jail, a lot of them shouldn't be there. From what I've learned and seen and experienced, and particularly young people, that I'd say that 85% of the people in jail shouldn't be in jail. There's alternatives, but they don't want to spend the money. We don't spend enough money on rehabs. We spend the money on new prisons, and then we make privatised prisons. What's the idea of privatisation? The idea is to make a profit. Prisons are there. They should be there, run by the government to protect, A, to protect society, and B, to rehabilitate the people in there. And none of that happens. There's nothing worse than being in jail and knowing that you're hated, and knowing that you've done bad things, and knowing that the state owns you and that you can't get out, and if you did get out, they're entitled to shoot you. Now, to go from that to a guy that they want you back in there to talk about this, it's, to me, and to go to universities and say these things, I think it's a great achievement, and I feel good about myself for that.